Are we live?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Yes.
Welcome, Wrestle Buddies, to our weekly roundup in news, our new live stream platform. I'm joined today by Jimmy Baby. How are we doing, Jim?
Good, man. How about you? Glad to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, mate. I've been missing my Foundation partner. Quiz champions, aren't we? And I am also joined by my favourite person from Wrestle Buddy after Alex, Jimmy, Matty, the new guy Dale. It's Zane. How we doing, Zane?
I was actually doing good for once, and then yeah, it's ruined now. It's gone. My happiness has been crushed.
Yes, that's what we do. We aim to please, mate. Aim to please.
Yeah.
But I want to ask something as well. Do you know, with it being Halloween tomorrow night, I mean, obviously, depending on what time zone you're in, it could be a bit sooner. Please tell me that you're going to put a swimming cap on your head and go as Dobby the Elf out of Harry Potter.
Yeah, you don't even need to dress up. You just walk out in your Grandpa Joe from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No. Funny, yeah. Right. Let's get into it then, lads. Let's have a little look at the weekly news, see what's been happening in the world of wrestling. What did you think of this week's wrestling in general? Jimmy, what did you think?
It had some ups and downs. No real standout episode as far as from what I saw. There's just some good matches, some stories beginning, but yeah, nothing really like that stuck out to me.
No, well, as I say, the most newsworthy stuff seems to be outside the ring than actually in the ring, didn't it? Which is always quite troubling. But as you said, there were some good, solid matches and some starter storylines. I'm hoping we're at that change, aren't we? Where we're starting to go into Survivor Series now, and
we've got quick nod to Braun Breaker, nod to Braun Breaker because he showed out in that match. He showed that he can go the distance. So yeah,
and I forgot about that. You know what? Just a quick one on that one as well is with Braun Breaker. It wasn't that I wasn't into him, but I didn't know enough about him or nothing like that. And I've been watching the last couple of weeks and starting to get into him, starting to like him. And I was convinced he was going to take the belt off Ciampa. And when he didn't, I almost like was upset that he didn't. Yeah. And I felt like that's why it was the right move. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely right move. Yeah, give him something to come back for.
What did you think, Zane? What was your highlight of the week?
Obviously, outside the ring, it's Ring of Honor, the whole Ring of Honor story, which we'll get into. But inside the ring, yeah, Halloween Havoc was interesting. And while we're still on the subject of Braun Breaker, I feel like they're kind of saving the title for when Samoa Joe returns, right? So when Samoa Joe returns, it's him, it's Tommaso Ciampa, it's Braun Breaker, and now they have a three-way where Braun Breaker can cut the Scott Steiner math promo and call Samoa Joe fat ass. I hope so.
Brilliant. Okay, well, let's get into it then. Our weekly rounds up. First on the agenda this week is AEW Stars teases reunion with Bray Wyatt, or Wyndham Rotunda as he's now known after his non-compete expired. So Bray Wyatt got released from WWE months ago, and since fans and reports are speculating that he will end up where he'll end up. Now, several reports came to Impact Wrestling were trying hard to sign Wyatt, but the deal fell through a few days ago. Wyatt drops another cryptic tweet on his return, just saying 2 days to go. So, people can say it's a bit of a cryptic tweet, but realistically, it's just stating the obvious, really, isn't it? That was into his 90-day non-compete. Now, Matt Hardy teased by printing a photo on Twitter of himself and Bray Wyatt from back in when they were tag team champions together. And he said it's almost time to delete the dastardly non-compete. Now, Wyatt and Hardy, obviously, as we know, were tag team champions, so it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I mean, me personally saying, I don't think that it would work in AEW with the Hardy family and all like that. I think Bray needs to go on his own. Do you not think?
Yeah, but I think if or when Wyatt joins AEW, because Wyatt is kind of different from the other releases we have seen because he's playing this really close to the vest. If you see at reports from Fightful or Dave Meltzer, they aren't certain of where he's heading, right? But while we've seen that his dealings with Impact have fallen through, so the only other option left is probably AEW right now, because I don't think he's going to turn WWE. So yeah, I don't think he's going to probably join with Matt Hardy or join with any other person when he debuts in AEW at first. But I feel like he needs to build his brand and take some young stars under his wing that he can help build up and elevate to the next level.
Definitely. I mean, there's been rumors as well that he's looking towards Hollywood as well, and he was offered some movie roles before the WWE release, and obviously with WWE he couldn't do that at the time. What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Honestly, now that it's like an option that's being I guess sought out by at least Hollywood on for him, I'd prefer that over him continuing wrestling, honestly. Because I don't think we continue to see the kind of characters we have seen from him in the past. I think, as you pointed out before, switch it up. If you're going somewhere else, switch it up. Show that you're not just dark characters. You can do this and that. But I really like the dark characters, and I think that the Fiend, especially, even the Eater of Worlds, I think they're great characters that he could capitalize off of and bring to like a Hollywood film. And it would be great with a mind like his. I think it works there just as well as it works in wrestling, if not more so, because he has more at his disposal to do. Like, he's not confined into this little box of like, this works here, this works here.
Yeah. But, you know, one thing that I did want to ask, and it's something that I've been thinking is, you know, quite rightly you say that Bray Wyatt has to do these kinds of, you know, spooky characters, or, you know, it has to be some kind of, you know, as I say, with the Fiend character and the psychopath happy guy behind it, and with the Wyatt family, it was the cult stuff. Do you think, you know, we go on about Bray Wyatt being a very creative mind, and just on the flip side of that, do you think he kind of isn't as creative as what you think because of the fact that he can only create this one type of genre and he can't really go into anything else?
I don't buy that just because of the layers that he has with these characters. I think if he wasn't that creative, it would just be like, this is the character, and then
sorry, I don't think he's not that. It's not that he's creative. I mean, do you know? Do you think
that
he
he's
do
not
something
as creative
outside?
As giving him, yeah. I think again, I think with the Bray Wyatt character, when he was doing Bray Wyatt in the Funhouse, you saw that the happy, and whereas it's kind of still like a little bit psychopathic, the character he's playing, I think it shows that he's able to at least play that kind of character well. And it's just a matter of him getting the time to piece together a character that he could present to the world that's not that dark character. And he's had plenty of time over the past 92 days to do so, or 91 days to do so. So,
and just on that point, saying, do you know, with Bray Wyatt, do you see him bringing back this kind of dark or cult character in AEW, or do you think he'll surprise us and kind of want to get as far away from his WWE run as possible and do something totally different and away from that whole thing?
I feel like the genre and the whole background behind his character and the whole feel would stay more scarier and more towards the horror side, because I don't really see him doing anything else. Like, we all remember Husky Harris here, right? Now, well, while that wasn't completely his idea, that didn't really work. Or even in that predicament, I don't think Husky Harris standalone would have been a good idea. So I think that the thing that Wyndham Rotunda or Bray Wyatt would really bring to AEW, if he were to go there, is that he has this familiarity, or the sense of familiarity, that people expect something from him, right? Be it a horror character of any sort, be it Eater of Worlds, be it the cult leader, or be it even the Fiend, right? Maybe he's like, these all three characters have been right on the nail. At least for me, I know some people would like to disagree, but if he comes up with a fourth, which he's truly capable of and he's creative, and that would fit the genre that he's been producing and he's been creating these characters in, would really work well and would really, you know, give the crowd kind of what they want to see from him now.
But you don't think, with the way that Bray Wyatt is, and he can be very like, want to do something that people don't see coming, he might want to try and reinvent something completely out of the blue, and something that everybody will be kind of going, whoa, because they wouldn't expect it in the slightest.
But I feel like interesting idea, but what would you expect him to like show up as? Because whatever, yes, sorry, Jimmy.
I think that's the thing. You can't expect anything from him because he's going to give you something that you probably have. If you have seen it, it's been a long time, or you haven't seen it in wrestling. Because when he was gone for a while from the Eater of Worlds character and he debuted as the Fiend, nobody was expecting anything like that. It blew people's minds away, and then the more things unraveled, it was like, yo, this is really crazy, and it's cool because it's new. So that goes back to the thing. If he has time, I don't think it's a matter of what genre his character is going to be. I think it's just a matter of if he has time, he can make any character work that he comes up with. He just needs to have the layers.
And just one last point on that as well is in WWE, as we've seen with the Firefly Funhouse and the stuff that he's done with the Wyatt family and stuff where he's filmed. Do you think AEW have the production capabilities to meet Bray Wyatt's vision?
I do. And I'll point to the cinematic match between Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, Darby Allin, and Sting. I think the production on that match was fantastic. I was blown away by it because I was not expecting it to look that good and to have the zooming and the cuts and all that just made the match work really well. So if they can pull something like that off, I don't think there's any reason to think that Bray Wyatt's not going to be able to do what he's wanting to do if he shows up in AEW. But I'm not sold on that.
Okay, so number 4 on our top 5 is Matt Riddle wants to face Goldberg. No, it's not something that we haven't heard before, and I'm sure we will hear it again. Now, Matt Riddle is one of the most loved wrestlers among fans at the moment, but things backstage are not always the same for him. He seems to rub people up the wrong way due to his vocal attitude, and obviously he's a lot. What you see on screen is what you probably get in the back, isn't it? You know. And he has pissed off several people, including Goldberg. Riddle called him dangerous and worst wrestler in the business in the past. Now, they had a conversation backstage at SummerSlam where Goldberg told Riddle that he is not his bro, but slowly things seem to be getting better between the two wrestlers, and they started showing respect for each other in interviews. Now, once again, Riddle's bringing up the fact of facing Goldberg. While speaking with Pete Rosenberg, Matt Riddle talked about his comments at Goldberg and on terms, how better terms they are now. And this is what he said: "I won't call you out, but I'll say this, Bill Goldberg, I'll be honest, I think I've grown on the guy. I think he's grown on me a little. I think the match can possibly happen. We both went to Saudi. We were both on the same airplane. We bumped into each other quite a few times on that airplane. I think we can get that match. I think we can pull that one out. No promises, but I'm hoping by 2022 we'll get Riddle versus Goldberg. It will sell tickets. Out of those matchups, I see that one happening being the most realistic. I don't think he's ready for me yet. I think I ruffled his feathers a little bit. He's a peacock, you know. He doesn't like his feathers being ruffled, kind of like I rubbed Bill up the wrong way. Don't think Bill was ready for a relationship with me. Now, over time, in a year, things have simmered down. Obviously, yeah, it's something that it should have already happened in my eyes, you know what I mean? It should have been. I get where Goldberg thinks probably, you know, that he's not giving Riddle a payday and whatnot, but at the same time, for me, it's a good match. It's been talked about for a long time, has it not, Jimmy?
It has, but I'm gonna tell you why I don't want it to happen. Because first off, as we know, Bill Goldberg has one match left on his contract. I don't want them to re-sign him. I want him to not be a part of the company for a while, if ever again, honestly. And that one match needs to be for Big E. Big E earned it. Big E deserves it. That's the match I want to see. And two, if based on where Matt Riddle is at right now and how he's been booked up till now, let's just say we get Matt Riddle, Bill Goldberg at Royal Rumble. Who's winning that match?
I know.
Yeah. So if obviously Matt Riddle is not going to go over, the match does not need to happen because it's just pointless at that point, especially if it's going to be Bill's last match. No, it needs to be Big E, and that's.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. I mean, I think I don't really know whether does Big E need Goldberg though. That's the question, isn't it? And I'd like to see Bill do a job for somebody on the way out. Maybe Riddle, maybe not. You know, if Riddle's out of the arcade bro at the time, and they decide to keep Riddle as the babyface rather than having Randy go as the babyface in it, and have, you know, if Riddle has the babyface, comes out to the Randy Orton one, goes into a thing with Goldberg. It doesn't need a lot of explanation as to why. Riddle doesn't need to be a heel in that feud because obviously all he needs to do is pull all the reports and everything else, and it writes itself, doesn't it? And then Bill Goldberg does the job on the way out because, you know, Kurt Angle had to do the job against Corbin on his retirement match. So what's different about Goldberg's aim? What do you think?
I feel like I have a solution. I have a possible solution, right?
Oh.
No. I promise it isn't what you're thinking, right? So it's the Royal Rumble, right? It's the Royal Rumble match, right? Goldberg enters number 1, and you can have your Big E clash with him, right? Big meaty men bump and meet, and then you can have Riddle come out, but unfortunately he eliminates both because we all know who's gonna eliminate Goldberg, right?
No.
Who could it possibly be?
Brock Lesnar. All right, I'll keep you guys happy.
Okay.
Like Brock Lesnar comes in
tell you.
eliminates Goldberg. But Royal Rumble is such an important place and such a entertaining way of setting up these matches or these potential feuds down the line that even if you don't deliver on them, at least you have a one-off clash between these guys like Big E and Goldberg or Riddle and Goldberg. So yeah, that could be a place where you can see kind of glimpses of what could happen down the line.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I just want to see is I do want to see Goldberg do a job for somebody on the way out. If that's going to be his final match and he's going to be on the way out, Kurt Angle done it. Other people have done it in the past. What's your thoughts, Jimmy?
Yeah, he definitely needs to do the job on the way out. And that's why I think as of right now, I don't think Matt Riddle is in a position booked-wise to be a guy that's going to get Bill Goldberg's last match, first off. And second off, to win that match. And the thing with Big E is, like I said, the story's there where he's, Goldberg was Big E's biggest fan, or likewise, you know what I mean? He was his favorite wrestler growing up. He's the champ now. Royal Rumble, you need a throwaway championship match. It's a perfect time to throw Goldberg in a match with Big E, and you get the goodbye from Bill, and Big E gets the rub. I think it's just a perfect scenario.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like I was thinking that what if like WWE are probably going to sign an extension with Goldberg, right? Brings in the views, rating box, right? But we don't want, right? But they will. And if they will, you get a Big E match and you can possibly get a Matt Riddle match. And by that time, Riddle is built up enough that he can go over Goldberg. And that could be his proper elevation to the main roster spot.
Yeah. If Riddle gets built to a point where he can get the win and it makes sense based on how they booked him and the aura of Bill Goldberg, then yeah, I'm all for it. I'm not against Matt Riddle in a Bill Goldberg match if Matt Riddle's winning it. I'm just completely against the idea of Matt Riddle losing to Bill Goldberg because it does nobody any favors.
Yeah. No, as I say, I just want to make sure Goldberg does the job on the way out. But right, we'll move on. So our next piece of news from this week, we had Tony Khan asked TNT about the bidding for WWE TV rights. Now, Tony Khan introduced All Elite Wrestling back in 2019, and since then, there's been no turning back for him. AEW has become one of the biggest wrestling promotions in nearly 2 years, and now they've considered themselves a legit threat to WWE. Khan and his wrestlers fired several shots at WWE and their wrestlers as well. Khan even compared his roster to WCW back in 1997. Now, while speaking with Monaco Stream and Film Festival, Tony Khan revealed how the idea for AEW came about. It began after Khan asked TNT about bidding for WWE TV rights. Now, I know for me, TV rights fees was literally the conversation that started AEW. I went up to the president of TNT and TBS and talked to him about the right fees. He was potentially looking to spend a bid if he bid on WWE TV package, and he wouldn't have gotten it anyways because I think he was willing to spend over maybe 150 million. He wasn't prepared to spend the 205 million it actually ended up being. And furthermore, it made more sense what I was saying to him, which was, if that's the case, if you're really prepared to spend that much money, that kind of money, I think would make more sense for us to talk. And I had a conversation I never dreamed we were going to have. But I said, we should sit down and talk about it. What if I started a wrestling company? We can build up a startup and put a lot less money into it and get a lot more value, which is true. And I delivered that value. Well, he certainly did, didn't he? He's... I don't think that we're in a kind of direct war with WWE at the moment. I love AEW at the moment. I think, certain bits of it needs polishing off. but overall, we've seen some really good matches. They've done some really good things. They've also done some bad things, but it's a learning curve. What's your thoughts on this, Shane? Do you think that we're in a kind of Monday Night War scenario at the moment?
Well, I think that AEW should not right now go head-to-head with either Raw or SmackDown, because that's the mistake TNA made. Like when they were piping out and they decided to go on Mondays, right? Because AEW, but with like, I mean, no insult by this, because they know their place, and I mean this in the best way possible, right? Because AEW is a great promotion, but right now if they go head to head with SmackDown, or let's say head to head with Raw, it might damage the ratings, right? Their slots on Wednesdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. And as we saw on, I think a couple of weeks back when SmackDown was in FS1 and they competed with half hour of Rampage, while AEW won in the demo, right? But SmackDown still had the SmackDown still had the better rating, right? And I understand that winning in the demo was still kind of a big deal, but going head to head on a weekly basis where you can't put as stacked cards as like every week as you can for one show alone, that could really harm AEW right now. So I feel like what they're doing, and as you said, that they've definitely delivered on the value, but they should let it build more. If they want to go on a head-to-head war with WWE, it needs to be a few years down the line, if not many years down the line. And I don't feel like that would be a good idea even then.
No, I mean, one thing that I think is they're doing all right at the moment. They need to keep building up. They need to keep building the show. Pick their nights. You know, why does it have to be a Monday night? Why can't in the end there's another wrestling company that says I want to go to a Wednesday night because Wednesday night's where it's at. You know, they build up their own night. There's no reason why they can't. Also interesting on this, and from my point of view, is I know Tony Khan's saying about he's delivered the value to TNT executives and whatnot at the moment. What do you think's going to happen when? One other thing, sorry, just before we go to that as well, is I don't like the fact that AEW have got a TNT title and a TBS title. I don't like that, because what happens if, say, I don't know, Spike TV come in with a deal that's just phenomenal? What's going to happen then, Jimmy?
Spike Dudley wins the Spike title. Sorry.
They retire a belt and they have Aubrey, whatever her name is, present a new belt. She goes, here, guys, look at me and this new fancy belt, the Spike TV belt. That's what they do.
Yeah. I think Aubrey needs to do one, in my eyes. She's the most annoying referee in the world. Just
yes.
Yeah. And also, do you know, we've seen a picture of her on the Jericho cruise, right? And she looked the absolute double of Uncle Stretch from Casper. She literally looked the spit of him. But anyway, she's a referee. We don't talk about referees. We talk about actual talent.
Oh, come on.
Unless it's Lil Nate.
Yeah. Well, we love him.
I heard somewhere a good referee is one you don't notice.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Or two things that actually, I think a referee that tries to get over is just a failed wrestler. But hey ho. AEW, I think, is, as I say, they're doing well with TBS now, but I think, or TNT, I just think that at the moment it's kind of, it could come to backfire on them in the end, in the fact of, as I say, if they come to renew their rights and they've got this great relationship with TNT, which is brilliant, but how are they going to know how much money that they're actually worth until they actually go out to market and figure out what they're going to do?
I think they need to expand their market across the globe before we really see what their value is.
Just one interesting thing I seen yesterday as well, Zane, was apparently AEW were trying to buy the rights to the back catalogue of Ring of Honor, which, by the way, also includes the original All-In pay-per-view. Yep. Crazy, no?
I was thinking about we might get to it when we get to the Ring of Honor news, but you know what, we're gonna get into it right now.
Yeah.
So the biggest appeal right now is the library, and I think WWE and AEW are both interested in this for two different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because WWE, that would go perfectly well with their network documentaries for guys like Seth Rollins or Samoa Joe. But for AEW, well, they have a chance to build a true library. Like they can have their dynamites and rampages and form previous pay-per-views on it, but then they'll also have here's every single episode of ROH that you can watch on this library streaming service we have right now.
And I think also as well is though, from Tony Khan's point of view, would you not want the thing that started it all?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like he is going to, like, if with the way the things have gone down, I feel like AEW will end up acquiring the library, and AEW is looking to start their own WWE Network S online video library. Jimmy, what do you think? You're laughing a lot.
Hopefully they make a lot better than Impacted ones as well, because Impact's. I looked at Impact and I thought, you know what, I'm going to support these. I'll have a look at the what I don't even know what it's called now, the Impact network, Plus. Yeah, Impact Plus. And I went again and I thought, $5.99 a month, that's all right, I'll get that, and then I'll watch Bound for Glory. Oh no, I clicked on it and it was like no pay-per-views included. I was like, yeah, okay, bye now.
Yep. I think AEW is going to end up with the Ring of Honor library. I think it's going to cost them a very, very pretty penny though, because I definitely see Vince McMahon making a play for it, if for anything else than just to drive the cost up and bleed more money out of Khan. I would love to see. I would love to see him get it.
In Tony Khan's perspective, Jim, would you? There's no way on earth you could let WWE own the rights to the original AEW first pay-per-view that made it all happen.
Well, not only that, but you got to think, if WWE did get the library and they put it on Peacock or the network, whatever you're watching it on, they can then say, "Hey, we got Young Bucks over on Peacock. We got Kenny Omega. We got CM Punk. We got Bryan Daniels. We have all these guys that you love to watch on AEW, and we have." To be fair, you could say that some of it is their better matches, their better stuff. So come on and watch it. You don't have to watch Dynamite if you're wanting to see those guys. We now have it for you. And I think that's another petty move I can see Vince McMahon doing.
Just for the pandemic,
driving it up.
Yeah, just for the pandemonium, I would love to see All In be on Peacock on the WWE Network.
All right, we'll move on from there, lads. So next on our list is Charlotte Flair's backstage heat. All week, Charlotte has not been on the talk of the town for all the wrong reasons on last week's episode of Smackdown. She goes off scripts and she dropped the Raw's women's title when she was meant to hand it to Becky Lynch. She threw it on the floor. This didn't go down well, and if you actually go back and watch it, you'll see Sonya really gets annoyed with it as well. It's not actually part of this. You can see it's not part of the actual segment. Several reports came out that Flair is unhappy with the creative and inner circles are pushing her to join AEW. Now, the recent reports suggest that she's having backstage heat due to her in-ring style. According to Uncle Dave, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was said that one of the main reasons Charlotte Flair has heat on her has to do with her in-ring style. The issue is that she is a heel but uses babyface moves, which makes it harder for opponents to get over. There's been unhappiness for a long time between Flair and many of, if not most of the women wrestlers on the roster. Little things and some things that have to do with match structure. One of the complaints is that Flair wants to be a heel, is a heel, but does babyface moves during the match, notably the dives, moonsaults in and out the ring. It remains to be seen what will become of Charlotte Flair. What's your thoughts on this, Jimmy? We'll go to you first.
I mean, at first I thought this was a work. It just made too much sense. You got Becky and Charlotte going into Survivor Series. They face each other a million times. How do you make it interesting? How do you make it fresh? You throw a worked program into it, and the fans would eat it up. But then I started thinking about all these things that are coming out, and it kind of falls in line with a lot of the stuff I've been thinking since her return after WrestleMania. It just seems like she hasn't been selling for anybody. She's out to make herself look good, and she doesn't care what it does to her competition. The whole thing with Andrade, whether it was true or not, whether she put her foot down and made the demand to do that screams of just egotistical maniac. Whether I don't know if it's true, I'm not gonna say it's true, but just based on the things we've been hearing, it kind of makes it think like, no, it's not a work. She really has gone off the deep end, I guess. and is starting to believe her own hype. And with Ric Flair as her dad, probably talking in her ear, that there's a real reason to believe that it's true. Because I mean, if there's anybody that's going to talk his dog like someone up, it's going to be Ric Flair. Like that's just his style. So, and I don't know, they've got me confused. If they're working us, man, they're doing a great job at it because I'm totally on the fence.
See, I'll admit, I don't like Charlotte Flair. I think if she hasn't got the title on it, I think she's a really good athlete, but there's so many different athletes out there. You know, Ronda Rousey's a great athlete as well. The one thing that I don't like about her is I don't like the fact that she, without a title, she looks lost, which to me tells me that she's not really as over as what she thinks she is. She seems to think she's this big deal. Yeah. To be fair, it reminds me of Ric Flair rounds the late 80s, early 90s, where I think in his own head he believed he was the main event and the big deal when realistically he was never a Hulk Hogan, was he? You know, what's your thoughts, Ian?
Yeah, I feel like first of all, I would want to like kind of correct Jimmy on this because that's what I do here. Like Jimmy said that he thought it was a work because it made too much sense, right? It would have been a work because if it didn't make sense, because that's what happens in WWE, none of the storylines make sense.
Get out of here.
Since it makes sense, then you know it isn't a work. It's just shoot. But jokes aside, I feel like Charlotte, as you said, Andy, she's a great athlete. I actually enjoy her work. I enjoy her character work as well. She is a good heel, but without the title, she's lost. And there have been reports in the past as well of her attitude issues. So, I mean, the thing that's being really brought into question now, I don't want to say about or speculate about anyone's mental health or what they're going through right now or what might inspire them to do certain actions. But right now, something that is popping up is many people saying that she might be like at the end of her contract, maybe I think it was after 2 years, she's gone to AEW. Like that's like something that's a very strong possibility now. What do you guys think of this? Because I really want to bring this into conversation.
Yeah, I just think she gets so lost without that title. I think she always gets lost. I think she thinks she's so much bigger than what she is. That's basically my whole comment on what's your thoughts, Jimmy?
My thing is, I think we all are in agreement that she's fantastic. She's a fantastic athlete, and I'll put her as the #1 female wrestler of all time, just based on her in-ring talent alone. I think in WWE, she's ran her course. I think she there's nothing left for her in WWE to do. No. There's the rumor out there that she's pushing to get fired, and honestly, I think that's the best thing that could happen to her. She can go, she can sign with AEW, but she can also do the Jon Moxley thing where she's wrestling in Japan and she's really showing that she is the best in the world. Kind of rebuild herself like Drew McIntyre did. And then in a few years down the road, WWE has some new female stars because with Charlotte gone, you have all these opportunities for others to kind of get the chance to show what they got. And then if and when Charlotte comes back in a few years, there's a whole new crop of talent for her to do her thing with. And maybe by then the idea that she needs that title to feel like any kind of importance on the show will be gone. And I think it's just the best thing that could possibly happen to her is if she was to just leave WWE at this point.
Yeah. Just before we carry on, we've got the Rev Cupid in the house. Harold, how are we, buddy? Good to see you. Good little cupboard. You guys rock, keep it up. Mrs. Working, but if we miss you as too, mate, let's get you back on soon. You know, I haven't seen you much recently, so miss you too, mate. Miss you too. Yeah, just one more thought on Charlotte as well is just I want to say that on the reports where it says that she's doing moonsaults and stuff like that and doing babyface moves. From your point, Zane, do you not feel like that lies with the producer of the match rather than with Charlotte herself?
Yeah, like I don't even see an issue with her doing babyface moves, right? I think you guys might take gripe with it because you're like, what, 80, 90 years old. But as a young fan and being in the target demographic, I really don't see an issue with her as a heel doing babyface moves if that's what gets her the win. If it kind of suits her look and persona as well that she does flashy moves just so she can prove that she's like one of the best wrestlers in the world, which she is. So, and yeah, I feel like once a story about Charlotte Flair comes out and anything that is remotely negative associated with it, Flair has to take the brunt of it, while it's not as binary or black and white as that, right? Like there are different aspects in the role, and while there are certain issues with Charlotte Flair in this certain situation, you can't put the entire blame on her as well. Like just you mentioned about the fact that she was doing babyface moves, like you boomers would like to call it.
I'll just say this: I have no issue with her doing the moves because, like you said, you brought up a great point. It just tells the story of her just wanting to prove like this is what I can do. I'm better than you, and it's just showcasing her thing.
I have no issue with her moves, but I have an issue with Zayn's face.
I also think wherever there's smoke, there's fire. I believe there is some truth to something here. There has to be something for all these stories just be snowballing at this point. To think all of them are true, absolutely not. Some of them have been just absolutely ridiculous. But at the end of the day, there is something there. Maybe they've been able to hash it out by this point. But who knows? Until something really happens, we're not going to know.
No. Okay, well, we'll move on to our last bit of news of the week, or the last of the roundup that we have. Ring of Honor shutting down. So this week comes to an end of an era as we unfortunately read the news that shocked the entire pro wrestling industry and Wales in general, that Ring of Honor was closing the doors and released every wrestler that they had on their roster. This year will be culminated at the final battle in December, and we will wait to taking the first quarter of 2022 to work internally to reimagine Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has the most dedicated fans in the industry, and we appreciate their loyalty and patience as we reconceptualize Ring of Honor. Now, more reports circled that Ring of Honor is selling the industry, the tape library that they have is getting put up to the highest bidder. We've already discussed that, so we won't go on from there. But I just think the biggest point on here is Ring of Honor as a whole. Now, since all this news come out, one thing that I have seen on, I think it was Alvarez who said that apparently Ring of Honor, when they're talking about restructuring, they're going to go real indie with it, and they're not going to have anybody on contract. They're just going to have them in for the shows and whatnot. Now, I know they'll get a lot of goodwill from people because they've looked after people during the pandemic, and a lot of wrestlers won't forget that, and they'll come in. But if they get any real top talent, they're just going to lose them to WWE straight away, and there's not going to be any contracts or anything like that, is there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a weird stance to take. I'm interested in hearing more about the story because it just to have a plan like that already in line. It feels like this has been something that's been in motion for kind of a minute now. Maybe this has been a plan they've been wanting to execute for a while. But until they have more out, I don't think there's reason to, I guess, speculate too much on the whole thing, the whole picture.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? I mean, I get the whole restructuring the business deal and everything that they're trying to do, yeah, but I just feel like the new Ring of Honor, straight away as soon as I'd heard that rumor, the Ring of Honor will not be the Ring of Honor that we've all known and loved, because you know there's not really going to be any place for long storytelling if they've got nobody under contract, is there?
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I said it's weird. It's a weird thing to do.
Yeah, but
sorry,
yeah, so no worries. But here's the thing. Like I was saying that Ring of Honor's entire appeal was presenting this alternative, very gritty thing to WWE, and which worked for a long time. But then something they birthed does it on a much bigger scale, which is AEW right now. So, like, why would anyone watch Ring of Honor? Because after COVID and after everything's resumed, Ring of Honor never caught that fire because it wasn't at that big of a scale, and it didn't have any special appeal. And now that they have like released, like they went under, there are multiple and emphasis on this big names on the market, which everyone will be grabbing on right now. John Gresham,
Danhausen.
Danhausen too. Love that. Love that Danhausen. Very nice, very evil.
Where do you think he ends up?
AW. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be in AW. Yeah.
I was big on him going to AEW, but now I think the best thing for him would be Impact, honestly. But wherever he goes, I'm watching him. I think he's the most interesting character in all of wrestling right now. So I'm watching wherever he goes.
Yeah.
John Gresham is still available.
There's a lot, yeah.
That's it. All right, that's our weekly roundup. Just before we go, any news that you want to bring up?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up one point on it. So apparently, Ring of Honor was paying all their talent throughout the entire pandemic.
They was.
Now, the question. Now, at the very beginning of the pandemic, WWE did their releases, and they were ran through the mud about it. Like, how could you do this? You're the worst people in the world. Yada yada. We all know the hell that WWE got for releasing that talent. Do you think that played a part in Ring of Honor continuing to pay their talent even though they weren't bringing in any money? They don't want that image brought upon them from their diehard fans, who I think a lot of the people on the internet are the diehard Ring of Honor fans. I think those are the guys that are watching their show. So if they would have went the route of saying, like, hey, we got to release you guys right now because we can't afford to pay you because we don't know how long this thing is going to last. And then the pandemic is over, Ring of Honor can reboot because they still have all that money that they were saving by not paying the talent during the pandemic. Do you think this happens if they went that route?
I don't know. I mean, a thing like Ring of Honor, there seems to be something behind it. I haven't figured out what it is yet, but there's something there of why what kinds of business would pay. Don't get me wrong, I think it's really admirable of them, and I think they've done a really good job. But it's like, what kinds of business would pay their staff to the point where they have to release all the contracts and then revamp the whole business and go down a whole route that they've never been down before, where they don't have contracted wrestlers because they can't afford to have them contracted. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah. So now all those people they were paying don't have a job when they might have not have had a job before, but they would have been able to work some things out. Maybe they were getting on AEW, they were getting paid. There were still, I think, options for them if they had been released at that time. Work on handshake deals that are still getting paid. Ring of Honor comes back, they still have their money and they can still operate. That's why I think the thing with their shows from now on just being indie talent, they're not going to have their own talent anymore. It's just weird. It seems like this has been kind of in the works for a while. And maybe that's why they never went.
And you don't know if they've been losing money. Well, we don't know. It might be happening.
Yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting take on it.
It's massively interesting. And to be honest with you, I'm looking
would they be in this if they weren't worried about the image?
Yeah. See, that's it. I'm looking for new reasons all the time on this because I feel like this story really interests me because there's if anything, it's like a Bray Wyatt character. There's a lot more layers that we haven't seen yet. So this is all the reasons behind it is. But lads, that's our week in wrestling. Anything else from you two before we go?
Yeah, Eddie Kingston probably. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I was gonna say I can't wait for the Eddie Kingston stuff to talk when he goes to sleep next week, and then there's no reason to talk about him anymore because that's exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I wore this just for you, Zane. Just for you.
I wore this this Eddie Kingston cosplay. I don't know if it counts as that.
Because it's your everyday attire.
Yeah. I'm just
a t-shirt that he's just took a knife to.
But Eddie Kingston's gonna smash Punk's face in with a spinning back fist.
All right. Okay, so we finished the adult conversation now, so we'll finish up on that. Right, guys, thank you so much for joining us as always. Lovely to have the three of us back together again. It's been a few weeks, hasn't it? Guys who are watching, thank you so much for watching our first live stream. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot more of these live streams. Make sure you leave some comments in the comment section for us, please, if you're watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and also give us some feedback, guys. These shows, we do these shows, but these shows are for you. So if you want to you see something that you want to see in the show, or you want to see topics you want to discuss, or if there's something else that you want us to do, like a video, like maybe a watch along or something like that, let us know. Hit us on Twitter, hit us on the comment section here. We want to interact with everybody, and that's why we've started doing these live streams, to get everybody interactive with us and get people talking. So make sure that you like and subscribe. As I say, interact with us, give us some good bits and bobs, and we will see you again, same time, same place next week. Take care, guys. Bye now.
Eddie Kingston.
Oh, I think we are still live, but we are.
We are still live.
We are still live.
Definitely,
Waiting for the gaffer.
Sing, Zane. Keep them entertained.